Hey guys, you know who? Coming from you know where, sunny day in June. Just wanted to give you guys a view into what's next. This is a 2013 Ninja 1000, not to be confused with the ZX10. If you're familiar with the Kawasaki lineup, this is derived from the Z1000. And essentially, what they've done with it is put a bigger fairing on the front, giving you more wind protection. The clip-ons are upright. You basically sit in a very comfortable position on it. So it's a real good mix between, sport performance, not quite touring, but suitable to take a long journey on. Features a 5-gallon tank, which is ideal if you want to ride for long distances. And because of the setup with the, like I said, with the clip-ons and the way the pegs are set up, you can ride this bike for a long period of time, cover a lot of distance, and then get off and still have your back intact. And for me, that's important. As you can tell, I'm not getting any younger. Also, with the accident that I had years ago, it's a more comfortable situation if I do want to ride for a long period of time. The cross is that I also want a bike that has some sporting nature and performance. As you might have recall in the last video I did on a motorcycle, it was an RC51. And that's a bike that I've always had an affinity for, and the opportunity came to get that bike and I could not pass it up. And I've been just overjoyed with that bike since. It's a bike that I enjoy riding. It's a lot of fun, but it's not a bike you're going to go very far on. One, the tank range is not great, not necessarily because of the tank, but more because of the dynamics of the engine and the way that the bike runs. It's just not going to give you efficiency whatsoever. But it's a thrill to ride, especially in the twisties. Tons of torque down low, tons of torque in the middle, and it just roars, to speeds and handles corners really well. But this bike is something kind of in the middle of, say, maybe a Concourse and a Ninja ZX. If those two things came together, and this is essentially what you would have as a child. So it's a lot of fun to be able to take through the canyons and then ride it home and not feel fatigued. So this was something I picked up because I was looking for that sort of in-between range, something I could have that on any given day I could get on, take off, go for a ride for as long as I want, anywhere I wanted, aside from off-road, and then still be able to come home, be comfortable, stand upright, and go play with my kid at the end of the day. So at any rate, that was the impetus for this bike. Features a 1000cc engine. Output is roughly about 135 to 140 horsepower. Tons of down low and mid-range torque. Let's say somewhere in the 80 range, something like 83 pound-feet of torque. So you get a lot down low. I mean, this bike will pull the front wheel up first and second just by twisting the throttle. So that's kind of where I wanted to be, a bike that kind of gave you that thrill ride, but also, again, the comfort. I mentioned a few times ago that I had the S1000 single R. That bike was phenomenal. I mean, it was just the best option you could get without being in a committed racer position on a sport bike, and it did everything pretty well. Again, another bike that didn't have good tank range, but it was a lot of fun to ride. Recently, I've also picked up one other bike, and you'll be able to check that video out soon. Another bike that's been on my list of bikes that I must have before I go, along with the RC51, and that is the venerable Suzuki GSXR 750, not the 1000, the 750. And if anybody out there knows history and racing heritage, you know that the 750 set up everything for what sport bike, performance bike racing would be. It was pretty much what Suzuki dominated the race industry with for years before, the likes of Ducati and also the RC51. So those are two bikes that went head to head in AMAN and Superbike and competed very well against each other. And it was kind of a toss up back and forth of who won, but the GSXR was one of the most I dare say feared. But if you were racing and you were going up against someone, say like Matt Mladen, who was dominating the series back in late 90s 2000s, he was basically piloting the GSXR 750, and that bike continued to be produced long after everybody decided to transition to the 1000cc leader bikes, once the regulations in racing allowed four-cylinder leader bikes to be into the fray. So I have to applaud Suzuki for continuing to build that bike, but we'll get into that in another video. This video is really just to kind of showcase what this Ninja 1000 is. I'll do a really in-depth video, an on bike video, so you can kind of get the impressions that I got from the bike while I was riding it. I took it out earlier today just for some errands, and it's just a great bike. I mean, it does a lot of things well. There's some things it doesn't do so well. You can imagine it's a heavy bike, so you're not exactly going to take, lean angles through, the canyons like you would on, say, the GSX-R or the RC51. But in that same vein, you're also going to be more comfortable, and you're going to get more riding enjoyment out of it. So anyway, stick around. We'll have that video up soon. Till then, peace out. All-wheel drive.